Hi folks, it's Andy and welcome to today's Kendo rant. Let's get right into the questions. Hi Andy, love the videos, thank you very much. Thank you for all the info. My question is twofold. First of all, would you consider a kote strike valid if it comes from the left as opposed to from the right? The question mostly pertains to somebody doing sei Nito, striking from kata de migi jodan. Coming down above the Shinai on the left side of the opponent, but theoretically could apply to Chudan as well. The second part is striking Gyakudo. We mostly often see people doing Zanshin backwards, but I've also seen some great hits with forward momentum, also quite common in Sei Nito, but they are never, in my experience, awarded Ippon. Your thoughts? Okay, let me just try and get this right. Okay, so kote strike valid if it comes from the left as opposed to from the right. So do you mean striking the left kote and somebody doing sei Nito? Which way around is sei Nito? I don't know that much about Nito. Is that the one where you have the Shinai in the right hand? I'll try and Google that whilst I'm sort of figuring out the answer as well. So striking, so anyway, they're in Nito, and from Migi Jodan, doing striking from kata de Migi Jodan. Okay, so maybe what you mean is like the person doing Nito is striking from kata de Migi Jodan because they've got the Shinai in the right hand, is that correct? I'm just trying to pull up, I don't want to get this wrong because I'm not super super clued up on Nito. It's not my area of expertise, shall we say. So if I understand rightly, sei Nito is when you have the shoto in the left hand and the daito in the right hand. And you're talking about from the kata de migi jodan coming above the Shinai to the left side of the opponent. So you're striking their left kote. It depends on what position your opponent's in. Alright? If they're basically in Chudan, or Seigan, or whatever you want to call it, if they've got the Shinai at sort of this level, then no, you can't strike the left kote. Alright? If they're doing Jodan, or like Hasso or some other weird kamae, if they're stood with their hands over their head or they're trying to block like this or something like that, then it becomes okay to hit the left kote. So if I'm imagining this right, you're holding it like this. This is the shoto. Imagine it's my pen is the shoto. And you're talking about hitting the kote on this side instead of normally you would have to hit it on this side. So yeah, generally no, it's not considered yuko datotsu. It generally wouldn't be considered valid. Okay, so yeah. Just a quick one actually as well. This isn't on my list of questions, but I did see this question somewhere. I couldn't remember where I saw it. But someone asked me why I'm always using a kid's Shinai to demonstrate in these videos. It's because this is just hanging around my office. It's one of my daughter's old Shinai she used when she was smaller. And using a full-size Shinai is obviously a lot more cumbersome. I don't have so much space, as you can see. I already hit the wall with this. So it's just a little bit easier for me to demonstrate using the kids Shinai in the space that I've got where I film these videos. So that's just why that is. Okay, next one. This one came to me by Facebook message. I've shortened the Tsukagawa on an old Shinai to see what would benefit, if it would benefit me at all. My first impression is that the shorter grip is actually helping my posture, and I do not feel that my right arm is overextending and causing me to twist slightly. I've only done this today, and I've done a lot of suburi while sat in Seizar and bulk watching your videos. Thank you. Is this something I should run past my sensei before I use it in the dojo? Is it really a case of personal preference? Okay, so yeah. This is a good question. So what you're saying is that because you feel like your tsukai is a little bit too long, it's kind of causing you to lean this way because you're trying to reach for the tsuba. But basically, that in itself is a problem with your kamae. All right, because if you can sort of see, if I can sort of stand up a bit here, right? I don't need to lean to bring my hand down the tsuka. Yeah, I don't need to lean like this. Yeah, I need to, you know, I'm just using my elbow to adjust the length of where I hold the shinai, whether it's here or here. Yeah. Obviously, if I want to hold it down here, I'd have to do that because my arm's not that long. Yeah. But essentially, even if it's here, I don't need to lean my shoulder forward. But indeed, the length of the scar is kind of a little bit individual to each person. So most books and stuff say about the guide should be that it should be about the length of your forearm if you tuck it into your elbow like this, or that sort of thing. But some people prefer a shorter one, especially in Japan at the moment. It's really popular to have the shorter one. I actually prefer the standard length myself. I used to actually prefer them a little bit longer. Originally I preferred them short, then I preferred them long, and now I'm sort of at the middle again. But yeah, I mean, if you want to shorten it, then I think it's okay to do so. As long as it's not extreme and you're holding the shinai. You're holding the shinai like this, then that's obviously a problem. There needs to be a good distance between your hands still. But yeah, probably for the sake, the best thing to do would probably be to, because obviously it depends on you as well, it depends on your height and the length of your arms and stuff. The best thing would be to just chat with your sensei. Excuse me. Tell them obviously that you've already tried shortening it on one of the shinai that you've got and you found it a lot easier. Is it a problem for you to do that with your other shinai? And unless you're trying to shorten it very, very short, then probably it's likely that he'll say, yeah, that's no problem. Okay, next one. I was at the Northern Open last weekend, and during the grading the Northern Open, by the way, is a tournament in the UK, I believe. I know there was a tournament in the UK last weekend called the Northern Open, which I wasn't able to go to, but I assume that's the one you mean. There were many people really disappointed at the level of kata performed at the grading. Much to my surprise, some people failed their grading due to their kata, which almost never happens at low grades. There were a couple of people going for nidan who failed their kata. The reason being is generally kata isn't practiced enough. Every seminar that I go to, they also always stress that many of you really need to understand the kata and know how to perform it well. How can we change the attitudes of some people and get them regularly, brackets once a month, to practice kata? Well, yeah. Like, once a month is like definitely a good amount to be practicing kata, at least. Obviously, if you're practicing more, that's great. But that's one thing. But that's always down to the dojo leader. If at your dojo they don't practice kata that much, then I'd definitely sort of encourage you to maybe meet up separately with some of the other people in your club and practice kata in your own time. Good thing about kata is you don't really need you don't need a sprung floor. You can do it anywhere. Obviously you need height because you're going to swing the bokuto over your head, but other than that you don't need the same sort of requirements you do for normal kendo training. So you're not going to be shouting that much. You don't have to shout super loud when you're practicing the kata. And then the second thing I would say, and this is something that I'd stress for all aspects of kendo, frankly, that's totally, and I've beaten on about this before, and I'll do so again because I'm really passionate about this. Is that I think not enough people put in the hours outside of the dojo, and what that means is kendo's like anything else. You can't expect to do kendo for 2, 4, or 6 hours a week, and even if you're doing 6 hours a week, that's a lot. But say you're doing 6 hours a week, it's not enough. To just do that alone and still actually improve. You actually have to not only apply yourself fully to those hours in the dojo, but you need to make sure that you're also putting in the work outside of the dojo. So obviously there's loads of materials for study. I know we've got books and stuff. I mentioned yesterday we've got this book coming again soon. I've got a book about kata on KendoStar, for example. I'm just waiting for the delivery on from the All Japan Federation on the other ones. But not just that, YouTube it's a fantastic tool. It's something I didn't have when I was sort of starting out in Kendo. I was actually watching VHS tapes that I got from the All Japan Federation, and then DVDs that I'd watched via a PlayStation 2. So that gives you an idea of how sort of far long ago that was. And basically, yeah, I mean, yeah, you have to do that Mitori Geiko. You have to sort of watch. There's loads of amazing examples of kata out there. Loads. And there's a lot with actual commentary as well, like in English. Obviously, if you can speak Japanese, it helps an awful lot. But even if you can't, like, there's the All Japan Kendo Federation videos about the kata are all on YouTube with English commentary explaining exactly how the kata should work. Granted, they're a little bit dated. Well, they're not a little bit dated, they're dated. And the kata are actually a little bit different to how they're shown in there, but still, they're an amazing resource that I just don't think people are using enough. I also use the kata myself as a teacher. I reference the kata in my kendo teaching. I can literally say that just yesterday, I was teaching kendo at my dojo, and we were talking about nukido, men nukido, one of my favorite wata, and yeah, and I was specifically talking about how the do waza in kata number 7 and the nukido with Shinai is very, very closely linked. So I think it's also important for kendo teachers to draw that parallel so people can understand that practicing kata is also an important part of kendo. When I was a bit younger, I fell into this sort of trap of, especially when I was like 3rd dan, from being about like 3rd dan to 4th dan, pretty much before I went over to Japan. I had this sort of real arrogance about kata. And I think it's really common, actually, where it's like, when I say arrogance, it's more like dismissiveness, like, oh, I'm too cool to do kata, and kata's rubbish, and, you know, I went through a phase of doing that, which I think is a very common thing. Yeah, I mean, if you're someone that's you know, that thinks like that, then you should stop, because kata is important in kendo. It has a very important role. And there's a lot that can be drawn from the kata. And granted, in Japan, the kind of kata isn't practiced so often, but it's still treated with respect and considered an important element of the kendo syllabus. So yeah, definitely, if anyone is watching this and you're in that position that I was sort of a few years ago of like, yeah, kata's rubbish, just for grading, it's just, it's not real kendo, stuff like that, then just stop, because it's wrong. It is absolutely wrong. But yeah, other than that, I think that's all I can say on it. Next. Hi, first off, thanks for your answer. Thank you. It's always interesting to get other opinions on various subjects and discover new things on the way. Good, that's the idea. I recently started Nito. Nito's back again. Inside of my study of Chudan, after asking permission to my teacher. I first saw that in a competition I took part in, and then I got a shoto and began digging out for information. That's how I discovered the channel, by the way. Thank you. I'm a first Q, and I've been practicing kendo for around 10 years, but really practicing more seriously, brackets 3 hours a week, 3 hours plus twice a week, and extra training camps as often as I can for 3 years. At first, I was really into it because it felt cool, but since kendo is not about showing off, I came to the conclusion that it could be a good way to further my study of kendo by taking on this other way. What I like is that in Chudan, I'm standard learner, meaning that I mainly receive information in the dojo from my sensei, whereas for Nito, it's more kind of research procedure, which I really enjoy. For the basics, is mostly use what I saw and the basic training video of, you've put someone's name, and I'm not going to say it on here because I don't have the sort of permission, but a Canadian Nito user teacher is a very famous person. I'm sure you can guess who it is, those of you that know. I would like your opinion on this approach, and if this parallel study of Chudan, Ito and Nito are antagonists. Thanks for your time. Okay. So if I'm understanding the question correctly, you started Nito. You feel like Chudan is like what you learn in the dojo in the standard way, and then Nito you have to sort of learn it on your own. And is that kind of is that approach okay, or is it gonna sort of play against each other, should we say? Right. What do I think on this? For the most part, most people doing Nito or Jodan generally, I wouldn't necessarily say exclusively, but participate the majority of their Kendo in that particular style. Here's what I have an issue with what you're saying, all right? When you said that in Chudan you're a standard learner, meaning you mainly receive information in the dojo from your sensei, but Nito is more kind of a research, so you go and, you know, have to do it on your own. Frankly, Chudan is that as well. So what I'm saying is if you want to be the best Kendoka that you can be, then you would. And this might start a bit of a flame war. Maybe people aren't going to like this, but I'm going to say it. You would take everything you can from the dojo, from your sensei, from Chudan, and that time that you're spending researching and looking at stuff about Nito, you would do that about Chudan as well, and that would make your that would be a better use of your time in terms of the actual progression of your own Kendo. Then what I think would happen is you would then progress. It's not about whether your Kendo would get better. Your Kendo would get a lot better, and then you would be in a better position to be able to pick up something like Nito and have a better sort of foundation really to build on for going forward with it. Now, I'm not saying put down Nito and pick it up later. That isn't what I'm trying to say. What I'm saying is if you want the best, that's the best way to go about it. If you really want to do Nito right now, then do it. You're totally free to. Whether they will play off against each other, yes, they probably will. It's not so much that they'll be antagonists in that the Nito will take away from the Chudan, but it will hinder the progress. Because the time you could spend improving your Chudan, you are spending trying to learn to do Nito. So there is a Japanese phrase: "Those that chase two rabbits catches neither." I'm not necessarily saying that that's applicable, but it could be worth bearing in mind. I'm also not saying that you should only do Nito. At the end of the day, it's your Kendo. It's for you to enjoy. You should do it how you feel is the best. But obviously, without seeing your actual Kendo, it's hard to say. But if you really want to do Nito, then you need to get to a level where your Kendo is good enough so that you can do Nito all the time. That's the sort of fact of the matter, I think. If that makes sense. I hope that sort of answers the question. It's probably not the answer you wanted though, sorry. Okay, next one, this is the last one. And this one is, I'm really glad this one's been put to me 3 times now actually, because I did make an assumption yesterday that led to me giving a answer to one of the questions that I answered that was a little bit, I wouldn't say misleading, but I should have been clearer about my answer. So I'd like to kind of clarify my answer to yesterday's question at the same time. So the question yesterday, right, was about Shinpan, okay? And somebody said if the Shinpan raises the flag, and then let me see if I can find the question actually, and then I can properly read it out. But basically, the question was about raising the flag about for like 2 of the Shinpan raising the flag, and then the third one, do they have the raise even if they don't agree that it was Ippon? And I had said that no. So here it is. Here's a question from yesterday. I found it right now. So here you go. It says, when an Ippon is given by 2 Shinpan and one opposes, the one who opposes would normally just wave off the point. How would the correct procedure be afterwards? As sometimes see them raising up the flag as well after having seen there was already 2 flags up. Okay, should they put it up or should they leave it down? And I answered they should leave it down. Okay, so I answered that if one Shinpan doesn't agree with the decision of the other two, he waves the point off like this, but the other two put the flag up, he should keep the that Shinpan should keep the flags down. Okay, was the kind of crux of my answer. Where it became unclear is I had taken the assumption that we were talking about the Fukushin, all right, the sub-referee, if for want of a better word. Okay, so you've got 3 referees in a Kendo match. They stand in a triangle. You've got the main referee, you've got 2 sub-referees, all right? They're called, they're sort of sub-referees because they don't have the same authority on the Shiaijo as the main referee, but they do have an equal voting power, shall we say, which we'll get to in this question. So let me read the question and then I'll clarify what the correct answer should really have been. So it says, my understanding with regards to whether the Shinpan follows the majority in raising his or her flag depends on whether the Shinpan is the Shushin or the Fukushin. Yes, it does. And I had assumed it was just in the case of the Fukushin. So if it's the Fukushin, he or she keeps the flag down even though the other 2 Shinpan have awarded Ippon. Correct, and that's what I said yesterday, but I left it there. But if it's the Shushin, when both Fukushin raises their flags that are the same colour, he or she would have to acknowledge the call and raise his flag accordingly and call out the point, etc. For example, men ari. In fact, assuming both Fukushins had raised the red flag, awarding the Ippon, and the Shushin had raised the white flag instead, the Shushin would have to reverse his call and follow the Fukushin's decision instead. So just before I read on, because there's another bit of this that I would like to answer, that is exactly correct. Okay, so that's the bit I should have extrapolated on a little bit more yesterday. I left it at just the Fukushin description because for some reason I'd got it in my head that that's what you were talking about. Okay, so if the referee is the Fukushin, the sub-referee, then that referee sticks with their decision. Okay, no matter what. So if the Shushin, the other Fukushin put up their flag, their red flag, let's say, and I think it was white, and I'm the Fukushin, I put my white flag up, and I keep my white flag up, yeah, until they start Nihon Mei or the end of the match, okay? If I don't think it was a point and I wave it off, but the other 2 put their red flag up, I keep my flags down. If I agree, then I put the same flag up and all 3 are in agreement. If, however, I am the Shushin, the main referee, or the head referee, should we say, then I have to, this is what I said in that they've got more authority than the other 2 judges, because they are responsible for announcing and sort of calling and awarding literally awarding the points. So if I put the white flag up and the other 2 put the red flag up, this happens quite often, then I, as the Shushin, have to then award the red point because I'm overruled. So I then have to change to red. If the 2 Fukushin both put the red up and I don't think that it's a valid point and I wave off like this, but then I see that those 2 have got their flags up, then I have to join them and have to award the point. So in that case, I have to. So it also, effectively, the answer to yesterday's questions depends on which judge we're talking about. So that's why you may have seen even that different things happen. I hope that clears it up, all right? If it doesn't, leave me a comment. However, I want to address the next part of this question where it says, I believe technically the Shushin can call for Gorgi and override both Fukushin's call, but this almost certainly never happens and is deemed to be disrespectful for them. What's your thoughts on this? Okay, right. I haven't entirely sort of committed the whole rules of Kendo, Shiai, and Shinpan, as well as the Shinpan Tebiki to memory. But I'm pretty certain that the Shushin does not have the authority to override or overrule the call of the Fukushin. To my understanding, now if I am wrong about this, please do leave me a comment. I'm pretty sure, in fact I've got the rule book here, it actually does say here on page 14, article 26, Datotsu shall be considered as yuko and awarded when awarded 1 point, so ippon, in the following cases. So in the following cases, ippon will be awarded when 2 or 3 Shinpan-in, so the actual Shinpan, have signaled yuko datotsu. Okay, so when 2 or 3, or when one Shinpan-in has signaled yuko datotsu and the others have signaled abstention. Now it does say basically it does say, and this is a little bit about it could be grey here, but in the case that a Shinpan-in doubts about a decision of yuko datotsu and others, I think that's just because it put, yeah, that's just a weird translation of the Japanese. Shinpan-in shall call gogi, wherein Shinpan-in shall come to a decision. Mistakes in decisions on yuko datotsu and others provided for in Article 28 of the regulations are specified as follows. In the case of an erroneous decision has been made about yuko datotsu or hansoku, in case of a decision of yuko datotsu has been made despite the signal of the expiration of the shiai duration. In the case a decision on yuko datotsu has been made during shiai in which the number of hansoku has been incorrectly calculated. Okay, so what that literally says is first is it requires 2 or 3 votes from the Shinpan for a yuko datotsu to be awarded. Or 1 vote if the other 2 abstain. Okay, now they abstain by, instead of crossing the flags, waving cross like this, they just hold them in a cross like this, like this, like this, and say, I didn't see it, I abstain, I withdraw from the decision process. If 2 Shinpan do that, then 1 Shinpan can award the datotsu. Okay, that is counts as the majority. Now there was a comment about that when I think, I can't remember where it was, but somebody said about doing that the Shinpan should never do that because it means they failed in their ability to be in the right place or something like that. Actually, I disagree with that point of view. I have heard it before. Obviously, you shouldn't be doing it all the time. It should be extremely rare. But sometimes there are cases where it just cannot be helped. There's just cases when it cannot be helped. With the to-ing and fro-ing of the shiaisha, and you're trying to move around them and all this, and then one of them just does ski like this. You can't see it very clearly whether it hit up properly or not. You would just happen to be around this. Anyone with Shinpan experience should be able to admit that there are just some times when you don't see it. Now, for the most part, what most Shinpan do is they will trust the decision of the other 2. That's also okay. But sometimes there's just a situation where it's not possible to do that. All right, maybe you don't think it was good, but you really weren't in a good enough position to definitely say so. And you want to give a fair decision for the players. I wouldn't encourage Shinpan to use that signal often, but it is there for a reason. It's not like you don't get punished for using it. You shouldn't get punished for using it. And then further it goes on just to, again, to address the actual point here, which is about the Shushin calling Gogin overriding the Fukushin's call. It says that when there is a doubt about the decision of a yuko datotsu, then Shinpan shall call Gogi, all right? So the Shushin can call Gogi, and then he can try to convince the others that their call was incorrect. Yeah? He's allowed to do that. He has the authority to do that, but he does not have the authority to literally overrule them. The Shushin does not have the ability to say, no, you're wrong, you will do what I tell you. or to literally just overrule what their decision is. He or she must follow what they say. So they may say, look, actually, I can't agree with you that this was the Yuko Datotsu because there just wasn't enough Zanshin, or I saw him miss the target, or it just wasn't whatever reason, all right? It was on the wrong part of the Shinai. That's what I saw. And the other two, Shinpan could turn to him, the Fukushin could turn to the Shushin and say, well, actually, I disagree with you. I also saw it, and it looked like it hit very well to me. It looked like a really good point. So I'd like to stick with my decision that I'd like to award that player the point. And if that happens on both sides, then the point stands. At least that's my interpretation of the rules, to the extent of which I've memorized them, which isn't a massive one. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. I hope those answers were sort of shedding light onto some of it. And yeah, I'm sorry about yesterday. I kind of should have been a bit clearer about what I meant to say. Probably noticed I was in a bit of a rush yesterday. Leave me a comment and a question. Let me know what you'd like me to talk about next time, and I'll definitely do so in the next video. Don't forget the whole like, share, subscribe stuff. It's coming up to Christmas, so things are getting hectic for everybody. Probably as a sort of end of year holiday period, lots of people will be starting to have their sort of holiday time from Kendo. Maybe your club's going to have a couple of weeks off or stuff, or maybe you're going to train all the way through. Let me know in the comments down there. I'm going to be trying to do as much practice as I can, but again, yeah, you know, I can't always help it when the club has got kind of a Christmas break or what have you. With that being said, obviously there's the holiday sale over at KendoStar. Definitely encourage you to go and check that out, because obviously that's what supports this channel. But not just that, it's all brilliant stuff. We've got some great deals going on. A lot of the stuff as well that we brought over from the Black Friday sale, which was massively popular, and these are the sort of second chance, but the last chance to kind of get those deals. Stuff like the Gaia Hakama. I think I talked about it yesterday. The Gaia Hakama with the free Kendogi, the Blue Moon Kendogi. That's a great offer. We will be finishing that at the end of this sale, which is the 28th of December, I think I said. Some of the Shinai deals, stuff like that. So yeah, definitely check them out. And I think we've reduced the price on every single Borg set on KendoStar. So if you're up for a Borg set, now's a great time to be looking at it, or telling the people in your club if they want a nice shiny new Borg for Christmas. Thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you all next time.